Okay, let's have some fun. There will be no violence, right? Don't worry, this is all going to be safe.
You can't promise that.
Can't promise that. That's right. We don't know what's going to happen, but
guys.
but this is going to be fun. This is really going to be fun. Hey, I'm Michael Casey. I'm the Chief Content Officer at CoinDesk. Woo! Nice, Adrian. That means that typically I write about money and blockchains and distributed ledger technology and a bunch of boring stuff like that. And I don't know if I call myself an expert, but I certainly know a bit about it. I didn't know much about WWE, WrestleMania. I'm suddenly learning a lot. What I'm discovering is that this is one of the most fascinating connections for NFTs. The opportunities here are really, really interesting. So I think you're going to find this is to be a rich conversation. The other thing that I think is worth saying is that it's common, obviously, for a moderator to boast about their panel. And so I've got the greatest panel ever, whatever. I literally have wrestling royalty here today, guys. Stephanie McMahon. Fourth generation member of the family.
Yes.
Daughter of the CEO, Vince, brand strategy leader.
Yep.
A wrestler in her own right.
But I'm not the only wrestling royalty here. I mean,
That's
you
right.
have the one and the only, not only daughter of one of the greatest of all time and a WWE Hall of Famer, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, but she is in her own right. She is one of the greatest superstars and future Hall of Famer who is wrestling Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania on April 3rd in Dallas at AT&T Stadium, Charlotte Flair.
Nice.
No pressure.
I don't know, Scott, can you live up to that? Scott Greenberg, who you should all be thanking for the food and the drink here today.
I did wrestle in high school, so I thought you were me as a wrestling royalty, but I realized no.
CEO of Blockchain Creative Labs, of course, also co-founder of Bento Box, a legend in his own right as well. So incredible panel. I thought, Stephanie, we'd throw to you first because when we had our prep call, I don't think I realized how big the fandom is for WWE broadly. And so just give us a sense, and not just the numbers, the countries, the different social media framings for this thing. And this is the good way to set up where we're going to go with this.
Well, and let me ask you, how many of you in this room are WWE fans? All right. We have the most passionate fan base in the world. We truly do, and we're grateful for each and every one of them. And this is now a new opportunity for us to connect with them in many different ways and give them a piece of ownership of our brand. But to give you an idea of the size and scale of WWE, we're available in 180 countries, 1 billion homes worldwide, 30 different languages. We are the #1 sports channel on YouTube, the 7th most overviewed channel on YouTube, period, the 7th in the world. We're the #1 sports brand on TikTok. We're, the #1 sports brand at various times on Facebook. We trend every week on Twitter. I mean, it really is a very engaged, passionate audience. And again, we're very lucky and grateful to have them.
Okay, so there you get a sense of what we're dealing with here, some pretty large scope. Scott, and we will get to Charlotte.
Well, and I didn't even mention our 7 hours of live programming every single week at a minimum. And that's, of course, with our partners NBCU and Peacock for our streaming property and Fox. Fox, we have SmackDown every Friday night. So every Friday night, 52 weeks a year, no off-season, no reruns. And they're the perfect partner to do this with.
We have a small live TV show at CoinDesk, so I know how challenging it is to put on a TV show. I think your logistical challenges might be a little bit more complicated than ours.
I don't know, maybe.
But anyway, okay. Scott, why don't you just talk about what this deal is, what the agreement, the project, what are we talking about here today?
So when we decided to build Blockchain Creative Labs at Fox, look, for us, it's everything about passionate audiences and fan bases that we can educate and move to the blockchain to own digital goods, understand it owns a digital good. Plus, what can we use to leverage our main tools in the network? Because our whole thing is you have early adopters, but we want to train and educate mainstream global audiences what it means to own a digital asset that has value. Because ultimately, an NFT is a digital piece of property. So for us, the obvious opportunity was, gee, could we get the WWE? And they're very highly sought after. And the companies have a deep, long relationship and trust. And it's SmackDown's the #1 TV show on Friday night every week, which is amazing. So it just seemed obvious for us to pitched the WWE, trust in us to build this business together. We're building a marketplace with the WWE that will sell video moments, not just video moments, digital goods. Your opportunity to own, elements of major superstars, if it's a digital collectible, if it's a digital toy, if it's a move, if it's multiple things, and it's to be really a digital ecosystem built around the WWE. More importantly, so the fans can connect directly with the brand and have ownership, and that's the great opportunity. And so we made the deal over the summer. We announced it, and we're building, and we have some announcements to make and some things to tease. So
well, why don't we start with one of them? We have a name.
We do have a name.
Can we just start with that?
Absolutely. And so, authenticity is incredibly important in this space. So we wanted something that really ties to, Web 3.0, blockchain, NFTs, as well as WWE. So the person next to me is really perfect to be here because the name of our new venture is Moonsault, which is one of Charlotte's finishing maneuvers, which I believe we may have a video of.
And we were going to get Charlotte to actually demonstrate it in person.
No.
She was keen, but we just weren't sure the shoes were the right ones for her. But there might have been some liability issues here, Scott. But that said, we do have a video, do we not? Let's see if we can.
We have a quick clip. There she is, climbing the top rope. What's she gonna do? Charlotte Flair. Oh my God! Corkscrew moonsault to Sasha Banks on the floor.
Sorry, Sasha.
Sorry, Sasha. That's a good hashtag.
Yeah, sorry, Sasha.
Tell us about it.
No, so I actually think it's much easier to kick butt in front of 80,000 people than it is to talk to you guys. So bear with me. So when I see that clip, I know that my fan base is going to know what year that was, what match that was, what main event that was, what arena that was, which match Sasha and I were on, because we had a series of them. That's how much you just see that as a move. But when my fan base sees that, they see a story. They see how far Charlotte has come. They see, wow, that's Charlotte's first corkscrew moonsault, because I do too. WWE moonsaults, that's a generic one. That's the corkscrew one.
Look,
but
that's
my
gonna
fans
be the
know
premium
that.
edition.
My fans know, okay, that gear Charlotte wore at Money in the Bank 2016. They know that that was actually in the Staples Center after WrestleMania 32. So there's like so many different things. I just don't see a move. I see a story with that specific character, not only myself, but Sasha Banks as well.
And by the way, and that's what's so amazing we're building together. One, it's such an amazing move, an iconic move, and it also plays homage to the moon and the rocket ship within the Web3 culture. But to exactly what Charlotte's saying, each of those moves can have provenance in the blockchain. They can be logged, and a super fan can own all those moments and give them the opportunity to know, and then it's logged that's where it is, and it's proven there. And I think that's why it's such a great partner, a great brand to show this, because all that back history data can be given there. And Steph and I were talking, there is warehouses and warehouses for multiple generations from the journals that her father and grandfather kept when they booked things. So you start talking about today and in past, there's so much history and so much deep video and content that it's such a huge opportunity for us to put it on the chain so you know the time and place, and have the fans really have ownership and have the opportunity to engage with that stuff, which is a super huge opportunity.
So let's just pick up on this a bit, right? So there's, those of us who've been in the blockchain space for a while know how important the history is, right? And the development of that provenance going forward. So here you have Scott talking about this rich history that is now something that can be turned into an asset. And those of you who are fans are probably going to want to make sure you get that, you'll be the first to get that NFT, right? Because that was your first one that time?
That was my first one.
Right, so that you can just, those of you who are in the NFT space, the rarity and specialness, that's going to be something to be valuable. So these opportunities to take that history and turn it into something of value, right?
Like when I see that clip, just a little detail that my fans would know. Not only was that my first corkscrew, but I actually lost the Raw Women's Championship that night for the first time. So it's like so many moments that the individual, like my fan base or Sasha's fan base would know, or the whole WWE universe with the women's evolution. So that moment actually meant more because that was Sasha and I's first time main eventing Raw for that series. So I just don't see a moonsault. There's like, that's part of my history and where I am today.
Okay, that's fast. So that's the back end, right? But the other part that's really interesting here is that, you don't, Stephanie, know what the storyline going forward is going to be for the next 2, 3. You've probably only got a certain amount of visibility going forward. In fact, you depend upon what works and what doesn't, right, with your fans and how it works. So now there's this tool to engage and have that storyline develop, which I think is the fascinating aspect of where creativity meets blockchain here.
Well, and there's so many different things I want to say, but to your point, we use all different data points as we're trying to determine our storylines moving forward. There's the live audience reaction. There's the digital and social engagement. There's, e-commerce sales. What's working, what's not working. What do we need to pivot and change? Because we're live and we don't have any pre-recorded shows, we're able to actually pivot a story in the middle of a story if it's not working. When my father, Vince McMahon, who's the chairman and CEO, took WWE public, one of the reasons why was because he wanted to give our fans ownership, a chance to really own the brand that they're so passionate about and that they love so much. So this is now yet another way to do that. And not only to own it, not only to be, to have a piece of history of the story, but to actually help create the story moving forward. Because now there's a whole nother set of data points, and ultimately when we can put our IP in the hands of our fans and see what they create, that's really what we're going for.
Maybe, Scott, you can talk a little bit about that structure, because there's, to Stephanie's point, there's ownership in that very sort of like generic sense that people refer to, but we're talking here about participating, engaging, being part of that broader concept of value creation.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, whatever we mint, you're actually going to have physical ownership of that digital asset. I mean, obviously the underlying IP is owned by the WWE, but no different than owning a book or a DVD. You're going to own that copy. And then I think, like to Steph's point, we're going to create tools. So they're almost like, one of the great metaphors I love in this space is media Legos. So we're basically creating Legos. So if you're a fan, you can take these things, and if the fans are going to create things, a fan of Charlotte's going to take these things and put it together. They might organize all of her moves in a certain order. That itself they can share to the other fans and almost have their own flex. Because I think when we look at NFTs, and we look at 3 things. One, there's utility, right? Utility that I'm a fan, I get to re-experience the moments that I love her so much and the superstar of that. 2, there's social flex and clout, like, no, I was there. I might have a proof of, we have our tokens here. Like, I was at that event, so I might have a PO-op from that event, so nobody else can say, everybody can say, I saw her do that. It's like, no, well, I have digital proof. I was there. That's huge, right? Because, there's probably more people who said they were there seeing that move than Madison Square Garden can fit, right? But you actually have that. So that's 1. 2, then having just the cloud of I own this early, or I was a fan early. So you start creating all these elements that really engage the fan directly to create value, and that's super exciting. We're only scratching the surface.
Charlotte, if you've been exploring this, how do you engage with your fans now? And what do these sort of new ideas mean to you about how you might be more creative in that, as a key talent? Because it's like there's the WWE brand, and then there's the Charlotte Flair brand, and they're obviously connected, but there's a separation there as well.
And as a creator yourself.
So just talking about social media as a whole, for me, my character is kind of, what's the word? Not likable. I'm the bad guy. So for me, social media humanized me. It allowed me to connect with the audience saying like, hey guys, I'm human. I know I play this arrogant, entitled, I think I'm the best character, but in real life, no, like I like normal things. I don't work out 24/7. I eat ice cream and I hang out with my fiance. But when I think of my fan base, when I opened the door for them to connect with me on a personal level, like one thing that sticks out to me the most is I really invest in my outfits. My robes are like my thing. Every month, every pay-per-view, every show, I'm like, okay, how am I going to awe the audience next? So what my fans have started to do, and I mean, obviously I don't get to every single one of them, But they started to like draw out designs. Like, can you do this design? Can you do this color? Or can you incorporate, you know, your father's robe from 1988 with the peacock feathers to your WrestleMania, actually 34 robe was the first time I did the peacock feathers. So engaging with them on things like that, so they feel like when I walk out at WrestleMania this year, when I face Ronda Rousey, my fans know that I've always wanted to main event a one-on-one. I've already main evented, it was a triple threat, but now I'm doing it one-on-one. So they will send me ideas, so when I walk out on that stage, I guarantee you however many millions that follow me will feel like they're a part of what I created that night. And that's just like a simple, I mean, that's just one way I interact with them. And it's so cool to let them feel like, they're like, oh my gosh, he took my idea. Because a lot of them do send the same ideas.
Tremendous. Yeah.
I mean, just to expound upon that, I mean, think about WWE is so interesting because you really can trace Charlotte back to her beginning when she started training at our Performance Center and at NXT. And those fans who supported her then are a part of her journey. They are with her. They're with her in the ring every night. They're with her in those matches. When she's in mid-air doing that turn, they're the ones who are like holding their breath, hoping it's gonna, you know, go through because they know they're a part of her success. And that's the way it works.
Oh, and they can name moves. There's many times I've come up with new moves, and a fan will send like, oh, you should name it natural selection. So I named it natural selection, or you should call yourself genetically superior. See, none of these terms come across endearing at all. I understand that, but the fans have helped me create these names. Like the figure 8 is my submission move, because my dad had the figure 4, so the fans were like, man, it's twice as good, you gotta name it the figure 8. So like these fans from 2012, when I first started, have just grown and grown and have really, I mean, like Steph said, they really have been there the whole time. It blows my mind how passionate the WWE fan base, and they're just not that way for me, they're that way for all the superstars.
But Scott, maybe you can weigh in here, because I think what's striking to me here is how much this really dovetails with what I think has emerged as the prime use case of NFTs, at least at this early stage, is we're realizing that it's this system of belonging, right? There's like, because it's not just the one-of, it's the NFT that's connected to a community of users. And what we're talking about here is within the WWE universe, there are all these separate tribes almost who are connected to their own stars that they love. Can you talk a little bit about how that works and how you can sort of imagine an ecosystem emerging with NFTs around that?
Sure. So now that we officially are calling it Moonsault, so the site, the holding page will go live tomorrow morning, where fans can go put their email to get in line and get updates. We're going to start educating. So it'll be some education videos with the superstars, explaining to the fans this is what it means to own a digital good. The basic. This is digital property. So we want to start laying those foundations. And, then on the road to WrestleMania, we'll start giving more information. But ultimately, once they understand the foundation, they get over the cynicism and skepticism. And there's no more trusted, the trust that the fans in WWE have is so important, and we respect that too. So we have to reestablish that trust and say, no, this is for real. When we get that going, then we're going to have our first products out there. There might be some video clips and moments. Then ultimately, it's a digital economy, right? And so it's one-to-one relationship of the audience to the WWE, to the superstars, to Charlotte, and having that direct connection. And Steph's right, it's going to evolve, right? What do they want, right? The fans are going to engage in on Discord talking about it, because only if you have an NFT can you actually engage and have this conversation. They might drive what they want. They're going to drive what's rare and scarce, and then ultimately trading it. So it's going to evolve from all different types of digital goods and digital collectibles and toys and really things that, our team's working closely with the WWE's team, really push the use of smart contracts and these digital Legos to really create a truly one-to-one relationship and creating value for everybody. So I can't tell, I think what we think is going to happen, I think when we sit here a year from now, we're going to say something totally else, and frankly, the audience is going to drive it and the stories will drive it. So I'm really excited, but it's not just collectibles. We're not just like, oh, let's take something from the 2.0 world. We're not just doing cards, right? These would be things that are engaging, and I want people to feel, no, this is worth something. It's of substance, and I might be able to do something with it. And that's a challenge that we have, because we owe it to the fans, because they're so committed and invested, that for us, we want to give them something of more value. And frankly, when they're watching on Fox, which we honor, how do we make that a premium experience? What can we do there that they want to come there, go watch the other shows on Peacock, go to the big events? Those are the things we're creating. And so it's really a virtual digital economy driven by these tokens, which is just going to grow. That's what's going to happen.
Stephanie, so maybe talk a little bit about what WWE foresees here, right? You were actually quite innovative early on in terms of your digital strategy, got into streaming early and figured out that relationship. How do you see this in that context? Like, is this the next frontier? I mean, again, we don't know where it's all going, but how important is it for your company, for your brand, to be engaging with this kind of technology as you move forward?
So WWE has always been a first mover. We believe in being slightly ahead of the curve. Not so far ahead people don't understand what the heck you're doing, and certainly not behind the curve. So with WrestleMania 1 in 1985, some have credited us with, I say us, my father, with pioneering the pay-per-view industry. And it was all with the goal of how am I going to bring this experience to our fans directly? For those who can't be here live in the arena, how can I bring this experience to them? And then that evolved, as you mentioned, to direct-to-consumer. So we launched WWE Network 8 years ago, way ahead of all of these other streaming platforms. It was Netflix, Hulu, WWE Network. I'm sure there were some others, but this is the context, right? And we had a lot of learning throughout that time. Our consumers are first to purchase. They're first to try new things. We actually had a linear deal that was pretty much locked for our channel that we ultimately took digital. And what we found is they wanted to lock up our rights for 10 years, and we knew that was too long. We did deeper research. We found that our fans were 5 times more likely to consume online video. And we decided we had a real opportunity, and in 7 months launched WWE Network. Learned a lot, realized now we don't want to be in the technology business competing with the likes of Disney, Apple, and everybody else. We're going to go back to what we do best, which is storytelling. But that opportunity to connect with our fans directly has never gone away. That's what we do best. That's our goal always. And we went with Blockchain Creative Labs because of their creativity. Not only are they best in class, but when we were having conversations, it was about, we don't want just the digital moments. We don't want just a collectible business. This has to be something meaningful that really provides value for our fans. And it's all about the shared experience. It's about the community. It's about giving you a piece of what you love and then growing that and amplifying it. I mean, that's what we all are when we're doing it best.
Charlotte, I mean, one of the things that, because I'm a creator of sorts, all my life as a writer and as a publisher, and one thing that happened in journalism was that we went from, having one job to do, write one story, to suddenly having to feed everybody, right? Social media, I had to do podcasts, and it's been a fun ride, but I've got, Adrian can probably relate to this as well. Like, we're just asked to do so much now as creators because there's so many different platforms. Does this in any way look, do you feel as if there's going to be even more asked upon you to engage, or is it something that just has always been part of the interaction you have? You know what I'm saying? Like, coming up with new ideas as to how you engage with fans and so forth. Does this put more pressure on you, or does it become something that's, you think, easier?
No, not really, because I think our fans are so hungry for anything. Like, anytime I show a picture at home or on a vacation or part of my real life, like, they're like, oh my gosh, you actually do that? Like, Charlotte Flair does that? I'm like, yes, I am human. Or it actually helps with my character and storytelling as well, with engaging the fans, because I'm like, oh, what's next for this storyline? And I might have a tweet or something or a comment on Instagram and take that idea from a fan and actually use that in the storyline to make it better. Like, the more I engage, I feel like it helps the character grow, because I actually know what the fan base wants to see from me, or how they feel, or do they really want to boo me, or do they really want to cheer me, or however many titles I've won, it's just, I get better the more I listen to my fan base, because I understand, like, I might be in my head, but if I actually communicate and engage with them, I feel like it takes me to that next level.
it's a really dynamic storytelling process. It's almost like you're crowdsourcing your ideas.
Well, we perform in front of a live audience. A live audience doesn't lie. So when you hear the reaction, you're paying attention to them, and you don't, like, and it goes with social media too, and you don't engage, because, like, I want people to boo me, so I'm going to do whatever it takes. If they start cheering, I'm going to go this way. If they start booing, I know I'm going the right way. And that kind of goes with social media too, whether I'm playing Charlotte or myself. If I say I engage with someone I'm in a storyline with, like, do they like the fact that, you know, I beat up Ronda Rousey on a Cadillac last week? Maybe yes, maybe no.
So Scott,
It's quite a beating, actually. If you left Ronda
I
Rousey
want to
laying on
see
the
it.
hood
I
of
do
this
want to see
car
it.
is
I felt bad for the
unbelievable.
Cadillac.
It'll soon be an NFT
You roll
moment.
that clip as well? That sounds like fun. You know, Scott, we've talked about what's in it for WWE, what's in it for the talent within WrestleMania. What about what's in it for Fox, right? Because in some respects, like, you're giving more power to the show, the publisher. They're directly interacting with the audience. Is Fox losing something or gaining something in this?
I think we're gaining. First of all, we're always growing, right? So first of all, again, we have the #1 show on Friday night, SmackDown. So anything we can do to enhance the engagement of the audience experience is good for the WWE, it's good for us, it's good for our advertisers. So first and foremost, any more engagement is good for us. Two, again, we're looking in the future. So, you know, when Lachlan Murdoch talks about what we're building here, and Charlie Collier and Paul Cheeseborough, our mission was, what's the future of content distribution and content production? And working with what we have today, with the broadcast network, with one of our most important partners. So for us, we're building software, and that's a marketplace that's going to empower our partner to connect directly with their audience, make more money, make their fans have more value. In the day, it's giving us the tools to build a valuable platform, which together will build and grow for many years to come. So frankly, we're building with a partner, so we're building the future together. So we're super excited about that. We can't do it alone. We needed a partner to do it with, and we needed to leverage our core strength, which is our broadcast network, which is our sports team, with Eric Shanks' team and the relation with WWE.
And this is part of what I love so much about this future space is it is all about partnership, but it's not just, you know, the company, the content provider, the superstars, it's now the community.
Exactly.
We're all partners in this. We're all building it together. And that's what makes it so exciting.
And just to amplify that, 'cause Steph's right, there's so much noise out there. You're even looking at Netflix going to AVOD, right? It's people don't know what to watch. So if you empower your fans, you talk about the thousand true fans is a core concept of Web3. You're basically letting them into the conversation. They're investing in. We were talking earlier about, patronage, going back to the Italian times. I mean, having the fans feel ownership. That's the value. So no longer you're disintermediating these third parties. And we're not a third party, we're a partner who are taking the money, taking the information from the fan to monetize something else. Have the fans come in, they're investing in, no different than the WWE going public. We're giving opportunity to own in and invest in, help guide and invest in the future. That's good for everybody, and that's value. That's the exciting part.
So Stephanie, I mean, obviously Charlotte's given us a picture for what the opportunities are for her. What about other talent within WWE? I mean, what's the level of enthusiasm and engagement amongst other wrestlers within?
Well, it's the same, and that's exactly as Charlotte was saying. She happens to be one of our biggest stars. But that level of engagement exists throughout. And when you do think about our developmental property, it is its own third brand now, call it NXT, or at the Performance Center, our fans are just as invested there because they also know that they are a part of the future of deciding whether or not those stars make it to the main roster. So they're engaged and invested very, very early on. Some of them, not all of them, but you don't have to be the biggest superstar in the world for people to want to go deep and follow you. You can be an up-and-comer. You can be at various levels. And the other thing about our talent is that there's over 200 different personality types, right? There's the villain, there's the hero, there's everything in between. So many different ways for people to feel that relatability. And that's one of the reasons why I think, WWE resonates so strongly is because we're a storytelling platform. Storytelling is the most powerful form of communication because it has relatability. You have to be able to see yourself in the characters to really want to care about them. And we offer a variety of different ways to do that. So that's one of the reasons why I think our fans engage across a multitude of different types of talent, characters, storylines, etc.
And also the WWE is multi-generational. You go to their live events, you see grandparents to children, and it's fascinating because they all have different touch points, but when they go there, they're all still so engaged. And for us, that's exciting because we can now learn and talk to different generations, to the the superstars they remember. So not, and then, but also you look at the next generation. We talk about this often. Your 6 to 12-year-olds. They're all in virtual worlds right now. They're in Roblox. They're in Minecraft. They're in Epic Games, and they talk to their friends in virtual worlds. They're using virtual tokens to buy things. That's where they are. So we're just building for the future the WWE experience for the next round of fans to just engage the way they engage. So frankly, we're prepping for them because that's what they expect, and that's the real opportunity. We're learning what they're doing today and preparing for them.
Charlotte, I was just thinking, obviously in the ring you're competing with your, your counterparts, but in some respects now with these NFTs, which are, measurable in terms of their performance, and it's not just price, right? It's a whole lot of other metrics that can be built to this. You could imagine that these things could become indicators because you want to do well, you want all those signals you were talking about. Maybe you don't want Sasha's NFT to do as well because it's so it's interesting that dynamic of competition that may well emerge out of this. I don't know if you've got any thoughts on that.
Oh, I never thought of it that way. I'm very competitive, so I'd want mine to do well. I think it boils down to the connection you have. Like Sasha's fans, we might have a crossover, but again, you've got, one of the best good guys and one of the best bad guys, and then what they engage in with her would be completely different what they would engage in with me. Like when Stephanie was saying, would all the talent be as engaging? Yes, but on completely for different reasons. Like maybe someone wants a Charlotte Flair workout, or Charlotte Flair's robe from this, or I'm the most decorated woman in sports entertainment. They want my very first NXT title, then they want the Divas title, then they want the Raw, then they want the SmackDown, then they want to wear them all together. Like every character when I think of Sasha, she has her boss glasses, she has her boss rings. Like those are things no one's talking about that. It's so different. Mm-hmm. I don't think people, I don't know, but a lot of my fans are always, what did you do to work out today? Or what are you eating? Or what are your favorite restaurants? Like, where does Charlotte Flair go to eat after Friday Night Smack? I don't know. Every character is so different in how they showcase and highlight themselves through social media.
But that's an interesting point because one product we could build, and we have not pitched Steph this, but if you're a fan and you have a token of utility, I'm a Charlotte fan, just being inside that club to have that information, to have a token that gives utility, only people who are in that club get to know that information. So I prove that, and that has value, and that's something we can build. And by the way these smart contracts work, they battle in real life. Maybe the NFTs battle themselves. So there's lots of things these things can do that we're going to play with, that we're going to learn from the audience and tell us. And there's so much fun stuff to do. We're super excited.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but one thing the fans always want to know is what's your pre-match ritual? I can just think of an experience of having that moment of what do you do before your main event? Each character, that I don't know why that resonates with me, but people always ask, from fans to media, what do you do before you go out there? That's a moment that people can see and create, and how they picture what that character does.
So even just this moment right now is like a live brainstorm.
Yes.
Right? Which is exactly
Michael,
part of what
notes,
this is
please.
so exciting.
Okay. Taking notes? Absolutely.
Yep.
I have to be the moderator and the scribe? Come on. Somebody's taking notes. I saw someone over there. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Being recorded, it's okay.
I know. And it's on the blockchain as well, so it's not going to go anywhere. This is always here. So, Stephanie, when you think about this phenomenal global fan base, 60 different countries, this multiple different languages, everything else. Do you have a sense in your head as to how that fragmented fan base is going to interact with it? Like, you know.
So it's 180 countries, but the reason why 60's in your head is because for WrestleMania, which is akin to our Super Bowl, we typically, in non-pandemic era, have fans from more than 60 countries, all 50 states, all different backgrounds, religious beliefs, political beliefs, and they come together to share this passion, this thing that they love, which is WWE. And I think this now just gives us another way. The world's getting smaller with technology, right? It's bringing us together in ways that we never imagined possible. And that's, again, part of what I love so much about it. So, where this goes next in the world, how we attack that, country by country is something that we were talking about before. But at the end of the day, it's going to provide experiences and opportunities for fans all over the world to connect in ways that they don't have to wait. It's right there, however they want it, whenever they want it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a digital moment right now, right? And the pandemic sort of accelerated that. This sort of like global connectivity. So, I mean, is that the case for you, Charlotte? Do you feel as if your fans are, do you have a sense that they're all over?
Stephanie brought up a good point. When I think of my fan base, I just don't think of the U.S. Like India, South America, China, Japan. Those are just, I've been all over the world, but my fan base just isn't, U.S. I think one of my biggest fan bases is actually in India. So they're
you were mobbed.
They're just as interactive with me, regardless of the language barrier or cultural difference. They're just as passionate, I would say, if not more.
Well, good versus
because they're
evil,
not spoiled.
It's
here.
universal,
They get us
right?
all the time.
So I think that's just an interesting way to think about the opportunities here, right, Scott? I mean, it's just we are forming these communities, these collectives of people interested in this or that asset, and it's borderless.
Michael, I think just one thing that's really important is nobody's really articulated it yet. These experiences, these moments, why they matter is because they have an emotional connection to the person who is buying them or creating them. And I think that's really when we're all doing it right, is when it is generating this emotional connection. It makes you feel something. It could just be a business proposition. You're buying a token, you're selling a token, whatever that is. But we're talking about is something so much bigger and deeper, something that endears the audience because they feel connected to it emotionally. Those are the moments in your life that you remember, the things that make you feel something. Maya Angelou has this beautiful quote, and I butcher it slightly, but it's, people will never remember what you said, they'll never remember what you did, but they will always remember how you made them feel. And if you can make people feel, that's a connection that they never forget.
Totally agree. I can't top that. It's a perfect way to end.
It's actually a pretty good place to end. I was going to sort of see if we could. I think that's exactly it. So that's all the time we have at this stage. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you for this royalty panel. The first time I can actually say that. Charlotte Flair, Stephanie McMahon, Scott Greenberg. Round of applause.
Thank you, everybody.